Okay, so real quick before we get going with the video today, everyone always wants to know when is the next time I'm going to be coaching live in person. There are 6 big announcements to make. These are the next 6 times I will be coaching in person, hopefully in your area where you can come and check us out. The first is November 16th at the Armory Clinic in New York City. All the information in the website for all of these is going to be right down below. After that, November 30th, the Throws Coaches Clinic, which is going to be here at Primal in Cranston, Rhode Island. Throws coaches only. It's a one-day clinic. It's going to be on November 30th. Then we have December 8th is the Do It Clinic, which is at the Reggie Lewis Center in Boston. Again, all the information is going to be right down below. Then we have 3 overnight camps that are happening next summer. The first is at Allegheny College. We do the Allegheny camp every single year. This time we're doing it twice. The first one is in June. It goes from June 27th through June 30th. The second one is in July, and that goes from July 12th to July 15th. Right after, super big announcement, first time announcing this here on YouTube. Right after that, we are going to be at St. Mary's, which is in Orchard Lake, Michigan, right in southeast Michigan. And that is going to be our 3rd overnight camp, and that's going to go from July 18th, which is a Saturday, through July 21st, which is a Tuesday. So it follows the same exact schedule, the same exact idea as the Allegheny camps. We're just going to be in Michigan. We've got a lot of requests from Michigan to go up in that area. And finally, we have a spot who's going to host us, and we're going to bring that camp to Michigan. So make sure to check out down below this video. In the description box, I'm going to put all of the information, all of the links. Go click those, go check those out. And hopefully I get to meet you live in person and help you get better and throw some new PRs. Okay, so we got a really good question underneath one of our recent YouTube videos, and it's from somebody who is wondering if it's necessary or if it's beneficial to learn how to do the glide shot put technique first before doing the rotational shot put technique. And this is kind of a tricky question because I think there's a number of different answers. My quick answer and sort of the short answer is that yes, I do believe it is a benefit to learn how to do the glide before you do the rotational, but there are some caveats and there are some things that go into explaining this. So I want to take a few minutes and kind of go through my arguments and explain this to you right now. It's not too long, it's a quick little list. Okay, so first and foremost, I do think it actually is easier to teach somebody the rotational shot technique if they already know how to glide or have a good idea of how to glide. I think it's a lot easier. I think it's similar to, say for example, let's take another throwing event like javelin. If somebody came and wanted to throw javelin and they go up to the coach and they say, hey coach, I want to learn how to throw javelin. One of the first questions that the coach might ask is, well, you know, have you ever played baseball or have you ever played softball or football? Can you throw a ball? Can you throw a football? How far can you throw? Oh, if you say, no, I've never played baseball, I've never played softball, you know, I've never played football, I've never really played a sport where you have to throw something, that's not going to sound as good as, oh yeah, I was a center fielder for 7 years and I just didn't make the high school team. I got cut, but you know, I could throw a ball from center field to second base without, you know, without bouncing it, just on a straight line. Think I'd be a good javelin thrower? Answer pretty much is yes. If you can throw a baseball, softball, football really far, you probably have the talent or you probably have the arm strength to throw a javelin really far. Now that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good at javelin, but it just means that you have the base. And I feel that's the same way with rotational and glide. If you've already learned how to do the glide, it's going to be a lot easier to teach the rotational. There's certain things that you're just already going to know that will translate into the rotational technique. Okay, so here are some of the things that I like about the glide technique that I think translate really well into the rotational shot put technique. And I'm going to put all of these are kind of going to be like right here at the bottom. Okay, so the first one is that it teaches that extension out over the toe board. Now, when you are doing the glide, one of the first things that you teach is power position, and you teach the sequence working from the ground up. You know, your lower body first, slap the giant, elbow, push. We've done hundreds of videos talking about that at this point on this channel. But it also teaches sort of that straight ahead extension of getting your armpit all the way over the toe board and attacking the toe board sort of in that straight line. Now here in Rhode Island, we do the shot, the discus, the hammer, and the javelin. And in Mass, we do the shot, the discus, and the javelin, no hammer, but they do the indoor weight at a few meets. So I've had a fair share of different throwers over the years. Some throwers, just like in other states that only do shot and discus, they just are shot discus combo. Sometimes I have discus javelin, discus hammer, shot javelin, shot hammer, just discus, which I have a few of right now, just shot put, which I've had a few of in the past. So again, a lot of times I'm working with athletes that do multiple different events. And in my experience, the ones who do glide before they learn how to rotate, or if they do glide during indoor as freshmen in high school, before learning how to do the rotation or the discus technique, it teaches them to extend and get linear and get long over the toe board, not sit back, but attacking the front of that circle. The other thing that I think the glide teaches is that idea of acceleration. So I always talk about like an airplane coming off the ground, okay? The glide shot starts out slow and then it speeds up, speeds up, speeds up, speeds up, boom, and then you take off. It's a straight line. You accelerate, so you go from sort of a standing position or sort of a steady position, and then you accelerate through the middle and you're at your fastest at the end. And that is very similar to the rotational shot, is that you start off in a nice slow manner and then you accelerate through the middle and you reach your top speed at the end. I think that's a lot easier to teach in the glide. I think that's one of those things that is just inherently part of glide shot put technique. And once you know that, once you learn that from the glide, it's something that you don't have to teach in the rotation. You just know you've got to accelerate and throw, and it's something I really haven't had to spend a lot of time on with my throwers because they already know that if they've done glide before, that they know it's an acceleration. They know they're starting out slow, increasing their speed in the middle, and then reaching top speed at the very end. Third, and something we already kind of touched on, is it teaches you how to be super aggressive near the toe board. So a lot of times with glide, it's a lot easier to save your throws, so you can be a lot more aggressive on or near that toe board. So we talked about that linear straight extension at the end of the throw. This is kind of tied in with that. They can be super aggressive. They've learned how to be really, really aggressive and really attack the toe board, really get over that toe board, get a big extension over that toe board and not be afraid of following. And I feel like a lot of times that carries over into the rotational technique as well, where there's not a fear of the toe board, there's no fear of tripping, there's no fear of falling out the front. They can just attack the toe board a lot easier if they have the confidence from learning the glide technique first. Something that's huge that you can easily learn, and that you learn, I shouldn't say easily learn, that you learn a lot quicker and you learn a lot easier in glide shot put technique is weight shifting, because you really are on one leg for a majority of the throw. You know when your weight is on, for example, as a right-handed thrower, when my weight is on my right and when my weight is on my left. So you learn very quickly and very easily how to shift weight. And that's something that if I do have an athlete who only does discus and they're just starting out, or they only do shot and they have never done glide and they just want to do rotational, sometimes it's very hard to teach them the idea of shifting weight, keeping their weight back on their power side, because it is a rotational event. Where glide being a linear event, it is a lot easier to start with your weight on your power foot, land on that power foot in the middle of the circle, and then transfer weight from that power foot all the way into the throw, all the way onto that blocking side. Okay, so it's a lot easier to teach weight shifting, staying back, and kind of keeping your weight back in the power position if you learn by doing glide first. And finally, what kind of goes hand in hand with that is that I think glide shot teaches separation a lot faster than the rotational shot if it was somebody who had never done glide before. The glide technique is really, really good at teaching athletes separation because, again, it is a linear movement. You can keep things square, so keep your head back, keep your shoulders back, keep your chest back, and just move your legs in the glide. Where in the rotational technique, if they've never done glide before, it's very tough to teach them how to separate their upper body and their lower body, to kind of hold that upper body back while the lower body goes, how to stop that upper body and while the lower body moves, and then how to move the lower body first while the upper body follows through. It's very tough to teach separation while your athletes are trying to balance and turn in essentially two 180-degree turns. When they're turning out of the back and then when they're turning in the middle, it's really tough to teach that separation. It's really tough because they are turning around forwards and backwards. Keeping them in a straight line like the glide, it's a lot easier to actually teach them to separate. Hold your shoulders back, hold your chest back, keep your eyes looking straight ahead at a target, move the lower body only, but keep the upper body back. Separation is just a lot easier to teach when you do the glide shot put technique. Now I know what you're thinking, all that is well and good. I mean, that's great, but my question to you is, what can you teach faster? Because time is of the essence, and this is sort of that big kind of asterisk on this video. What can you teach faster? So let's say, for example, a high school boy who's throwing the 12-pound shot put 40 feet. Say they threw as a freshman, and say they hit, I don't know, 33 feet as a freshman. And then as a sophomore, they hit 40 feet. Now, as juniors, they've learned the rotational technique. Maybe they took a little bit of a step back. They were throwing 38, 39. They finally hit or tied their PR at 40. And now it's the end of their junior year of high school, and now they're throwing, say, 45 feet. Well, it took 3 years, freshman, sophomore, and junior year, for them to hit 45 feet with the rotational technique. Now, the first 2 years was glide. The third year was the rotation. But what if it was somebody brand new who had never done the glide before, and now you want to teach them how to rotate right off the bat, right off the gun? They're going to learn to rotate having never done a glide before. Can you get them to 45 feet in 3 years? Is the potential to reach a longer distance faster, greater, with just learning the rotational technique? Or should you do the glide technique first and then learn the rotational afterwards? Honestly, I don't have an answer, but I think that's the real question. Are you a good enough coach to teach all the things that you need to teach and to get your athletes throwing farther with the rotation faster than you would if you taught them how to do the glide first? This is where I think the good answer to this question is, what is your knowledge? What do you feel more comfortable with? Is this something where you need to teach your athletes how to glide first so they get all of these concepts? Or do you teach them to rotate right off the bat? For me personally, I think it's easier. I think it is more convenient. And I think it is a lot better when you're working with a larger group of athletes to teach them the glide for 1 or 2 years when you start working with them in high school, and then to move to the rotational technique. It's a lot easier, especially if they've been throwing discus, it's a lot easier to implement the rotational technique if they have already been doing the glide. That is just what I have seen with kind of above average to average coaches in this area over the past 17 years that I have been involved in the sport of track and field in New England. Usually if they start off with glide first, they are really good rotational throwers. If they start off with rotation first, a lot of times they're really good discus throwers, but their shot sometimes lags behind. All right, everybody, thank you so much for checking out the video today. Thanks for sticking around and listening to my ranting and ramblings about glide versus rotation. Hopefully this helps to clear some things out for the coaches out around this area who are getting ready for indoor track. Like we said in the beginning of the video, make sure to check out all of the places that I'm going to be until the end of this year. There are coaching clinics, there are camps that are going to be happening, one-day clinics that are going to be happening all around New England. And also make sure too, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be popping up on the channel here right at the end. Make sure to check those out. if you need any information, feel free to go right to our website. I'm going to put a link for that here, and feel free to subscribe to this channel and click that notification bell. That way you are notified whenever any new video or any new announcement is coming out. You will be one of the first to know. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Thanks so much for clicking on all this stuff that popped up. And if there's any questions, leave them right down below in the comment section. Thanks. Talk to you soon.